What's up, guys? Today I'm here with Grant Cohn, Blake, and Vish. Today we're going to be breaking down some Niner topics, so let's get right into it. Starting off with who is a better tight end, George Kittle or Travis Kelce?
Blake, you start.
All right. I'll go first. So this is actually a good question. I think I have an unpopular opinion, even amongst Niners fans. So I think the media would say definitely Travis Kelce due to his receiving, but I think George Kittle isn't that much worse of a receiver, but his run blocking puts him over the top. And I think his run blocking makes him like a sixth offensive lineman out there, which is kind of broken when you're running the ball down teams' throats and you just have six linemen just pushing the line back a yard or two. So I would go Kittle. But in all honesty, you can't go wrong with either because both of them are monsters and soon to be Hall of Famers.
Kelce doesn't get hurt. Kittle gets hurt. That got to give that to Kelce. And then the other thing is Kelce scores a lot of touchdowns. Kittle doesn't. Now, I don't hold that against Kittle. I feel like if you put Kittle on the Chiefs, he would score a lot of touchdowns. A lot of that is kind of how he's used. So I would lean toward Kittle. Maybe if you asked me a year ago, I would have said Kittle. But Kittle just missed a half a season with these weird injuries, and Kelce did not. So I got to go Kelce.
Yeah, right now I'm going to go Kelce. I mean, my answer with this question changes like every 2-3 months or 2 or 3 months from now. I might say Kittle, but right now it's Kelce. In regards to the blocking, I mean, how many tight ends do you really need lining up in line? It's like the coverage question, and linebackers. Yeah, Fred Warner probably 15 years ago couldn't take on a pulling guard or a fullback, but that doesn't really matter in today's NFL. He's one of the best coverage linebackers in football, and that's why we all say he's the best off-ball linebacker in the NFL. And so because of that, it's Kelce is not as good in line as Kittle, but you don't really need that, and the Chiefs don't need that. He's a better route runner. He's got better hands. He's better in the red zone. For now, I'm going to say Kelce.
Yeah, I got to agree with you, Vish. I got to go with Kelce. I'm a Niner fan. I love Kittle. But Kittle, the best ability is availability. He hasn't been healthy, and Kelce's just been dominant for many years. So I got to go with Kelce, man. Consistency. So I got to go with Kelce. Moving on to the next topic is how will Jeff Wilson's injury affect the 49ers?
So I can go first here. I don't think it's going to affect them that much. Jeff Wilson's a pretty good player for 4 or 5 games a year. He's been like that the last couple of years, but the way he runs and his body's not built to take the way he runs, he seems to always get banged up. I think that I like Wayne Gallman a lot. I think Raheem Mostert, Trey Sermon. I know a lot of people love Elijah Mitchell. He's still on my to-do list. Have not watched him yet, but I think the Niners will overall be fine. And when he comes back, he can contribute. But I don't think it's that big of a loss.
Jesse, what do you think? How will Jeff Wilson's injury affect the 49ers?
Yeah, I mean, I got to agree with Vish. I don't think that it's that big of a loss yet. But let's say another injury happens, then what, right? So having all this depth, I know that I was one of the people that said, why did we draft 2 running backs? It doesn't make a lot of sense. But here we are. So Wilson's hurt. I thought he was actually going to lead the team in carries. That clearly is not going to happen at this point. So Gallman should make this team. Really, the 2 rookies should make the team. Gallman, Mostert, and then Hasty. If we can sneak them past and get them on the practice squad without having another team pick them up, that would be ideal.
Grant.
It seems to me that he had a very specific role in the team. Goal line back and receiver out of the backfield. He was kind of better at both of those things than Kyle Juszczyk. But Juszczyk's the same way. I feel like this could give the Niners an opportunity to actually use their offensive weapon a little bit more because they need to replace Jeff Wilson in those specific ways. Like Wayne Gallman's great, Trey Sermon's great, Elijah Mitchell's great, but I don't know if he necessarily is as tough and powerful, but at the goal line as Jeff Wilson is, or as good of a receiver on those option routes. So Kyle Juszczyk, I think they're going to get him the ball more early in the season.
I can go on this one. Yeah, I'm kind of with you guys. I don't think it'll make too big of a difference. Niners seem to put any running back in the scheme, and they get 4.5, 5 yards a carry. And Jeff Wilson Jr., solid player, but they did draft 2 guys, so I think that'll definitely fix it up. And I think Wayne Gallman, he was very healthy last year, and hopefully he can continue that when he's on the Niners. And I think he'll be the guy who kind of takes over for what Jeff Wilson would have been getting.
Yep, I gotta agree with that. I don't think it's gonna affect the Niners in a huge way because we already have Wayne Gallman. We drafted Trey Sermon. We drafted Elijah Mitchell. So even if Mostert get injured, we still have a lot of running backs. So I don't think it's gonna affect the Niners in a lot of ways because, like you said, you could put any running back in that system and they like super good in that system. So I gotta go with it's not gonna affect the Niners that much.
Well, let me ask you though. I mean, do you think it puts pressure on rookies?
Yes, it puts pressure on the rookies, but you still have Wayne Gallman, right? So like even if
True.
you could split the carries between Trey Sermon and Wayne Gallman, or you could split the carries between Elijah Mitchell and Wayne Gallman. So you could still split the carries. You don't have to put all the pressure on Trey Sermon or Elijah Mitchell. So
Good
moving
call.
on to the next topic is who will lead the 49ers in receiving yards this season.
I can go first again if you want. It's George Kittle. I think George Kittle will lead them in receiving yards. I think that regardless of who plays quarterback, I think you're going to see a heavy emphasis on getting George Kittle the ball. I would probably say, like, especially, I mean, regardless of who the quarterback is, I think they're going to go to Kittle. Obviously, he's going to get a lot of yards after the catch. And so, yeah, I'm just going to say George Kittle.
Yeah, I would say Ayuk. I think Kittle's a great choice, but I also think that Kittle, Debo, those guys are destined to miss a couple games just because of the way that they play. I think that Vish is right on in saying that Kittle is going to be the number one target. And normally that would lead to being the number one receiver as far as yards, maybe touchdowns, what have you. But being that he'll probably play 13, 14 games, I think Ayuk's going to have a breakout season. Hopefully Lance gets some burn so that he can hit him in some deep routes and really take advantage of some of the skill sets that we didn't get to see last year. But I'm going to go with Ayuk to lead the team in receiving.
I'm going to go with George Kittle because last year, even though George Kittle was injured a lot of games, he still put up like 600 receiving yards. And when he plays really, really well. Most of the time, he puts up at least 100 yards per game, if not more. So I have to go with George Kittle. Even though he was injured last year, he still put up 600 yards, which is pretty good, missing that many games as much as he did. So even if he misses some games this year, I still feel like he's going to put up at least 600 yards or more. So I still got to go with George Kittle.
I would go with Ayuk on this one. I think Kittle's definitely a really good option. I mean, top 2 tight end in the league. You can't really say much bad about him. But Ayuk had 96 targets in the 12 games that he played. That's about 8 a game. Now, I know Kittle missed time. I know Debo missed time. But they were targeting him a lot, and he performed well above expectations for a rookie, and he dominated when he was healthy. So I think they're going to keep feeding him the ball, and I'm excited to see what they can do with the trio of him, Debo, and Kittle.
Okay, I'm gonna have a different answer. I'm not gonna say Kittle because I feel like you almost have to expect him to miss some games, just because he's older. He broke his foot running last year. That's weird. And plus, he plays so hard. I'm not gonna say Kittle, although he should be like the leading receiver through 8 games. I'm just gonna bet against him to make it through the whole season. And then Ayuk, I love Ayuk. I think I've been saying that Ayuk's better than Debo with Vish. But I think that Ayuk is really going to flourish with a quarterback that's not Jimmy. And from what I've seen in OTAs, I kind of feel like Jimmy's going to have this job for a little bit until he gets hurt. So I'm going to say Debo. I feel like as long as Jimmy Garoppolo is the starting quarterback of this team, he's going to go to Debo a lot. And Debo could get hurt too, but I'm just going to say Debo to be different.
So I would have said Debo because I think regardless of style, Debo is the biggest guarantee to get targets because every quarterback can do the push pass. Every quarterback can flip it out to the bubble. Every single quarterback can, give it to him on an end around. My thing with Debo is 2 things. One, I don't know how much of his yards will be rushing yards, how much of them will be receiving yards. I mean, for the most part, they've been receiving yards so far, but a small change in how they get him the ball could make that number differ. And then 2, it's the same thing with Kittle. Debo has the same question mark on whether his body can make it through a full season, just given his college history and his NFL history.
Vish, let me ask you this. Do you think the question or the answer changes if we just say all-purpose yards? Does your answer change
I'd
to
have picked Debo? I'd have picked.
That's an interesting question. Let's do that one. I like that.
Yeah. So all-purpose yards. Yeah. Go ahead,
Debo's more rushing yards in my opinion because they don't really like with Jimmy Garoppolo at the quarterback. They don't really they usually most of the time use Debo to run jet sweeps, and that's what he does with Jimmy. Especially if Jimmy Garoppolo's under center this year, they're just gonna do that with Debo Samuel. Ayuk is more of the true pass catcher in the Niners offense, more than Debo, I would say.
So here's one thing I'll say before Blake, you and Grant go. An odd thing about Debo is he only has 185 yards the last 2 years. But I think that all you really got to do is change how you get him the ball. Like the push pass turns into a jet sweep, right?
Exactly.
Or the screen,
the
screen instead of being parallel to the line of scrimmage, you accidentally throw the ball like a half an inch behind, and now it's behind the line of scrimmage. And, like the Brandon Ayuk hurdle was a rushing touchdown. So that's where I fear with Debo if the stats will be receiving stats or if they would be rushing stats.
Sorry, I've been doodling and stuff. I'm trying to find I got the link and now I put it because I'm trying to get all people watching. You know what I'm saying? I just tweeted it out.
I appreciate it.
Just tweeted it out.
Moving on to the next topic is who will lead the 49ers in rushing yards this season.
I like these topics.
Let's let the Green Bay Packer fan go, Blake. What do you think?
Yeah, I was going to say, Grant, these are some good topics. I agree with you on that. And my answer will be different than all yours. So I think Sermon is injury prone. We know Raheem Mostert is. I think Wayne Gallman will be the guy who actually remains healthy enough to get the bulk of the carries. And so I'm going to say Wayne Gallman will lead the 49ers in rushing yards. And if you think about how he played on the Giants, their O-line isn't really all that great. And he still averaged, consistently 4 yards a carry. And they were feeding him the ball similar to how they were feeding Saquon. Maybe not to the same extent, but, you still getting 20, 18 carries a game, which is pretty respectable for a guy that not many people consider to be a really quality running back. So I'm going to go Wayne Gallman.
Interesting.
That's a great answer. Is it my turn?
I was gonna say the same thing. So you can go, or I'll just
okay.
You're gonna say Gallman too.
Yeah.
Okay, Jesse, you go this.
Same exact reasons.
Okay, I'll go with Sermon because the way that I feel like they're going to use Sermon is Mostert's going to start. I think of actually the Green Bay Packers as a great example of this. Like I imagine how we're going to play against Green Bay, and I feel like Green Bay struggles stopping the run. And so the way that I envision that game going is Mostert starts out, maybe Gallman gets some burn, and then come fourth quarter when we're really trying to put a game away, that's when Sermon's going to come in and try to finish things off. And so I feel like if that's the way that he's going to be used as the finisher, well, defenses are going to be tired and he's going to start to have a field day towards the end of games. So I'm going to go with Sermon. It's the reason that I had Wilson before the injury, and I think that Sermon just steps up the depth chart and takes the role of Jeff Wilson. So,
all right. Well, the way I look at it is, if there's an even split of carries, 8 to 10 for Mostert, 8 to 10 for Sermon, with a few more for Debo, Juszczyk, maybe Mitchell, then it's gonna be Mostert because I like Sermon, but Mostert's going to average at least 5 yards per carry. He does it every year with the 49ers. I mean, he's just very efficient. And I think I'm a Mostert fan. Like dude in Office Space, I'm a Michael Bolton fan. I just cherish his catalog. I'm a Raheem Mostert fan. I really oversold him last year. He got hurt early like Jimmy Garoppolo did, but I'm going to make excuses for Raheem Mostert because he fits my narrative. I really like him. I think this is the year that they're going to take a little off his plate and he's going to flourish and lead the team in rushing. Raheem Mostert.
I got to agree with you, Grant. I got to go with Mostert. If Mostert's healthy, he's going to get most of the carries, more than especially since Jeff Wilson's out. Mostert's going to get most of the carries if he's healthy over Sermon. Sermon will get carries, but not as much as Raheem Mostert. And Raheem Mostert is the starting running back for this team, and if he's healthy, I'm going to say Raheem Mostert is going to lead the 49ers rushing yards. If he's healthy,
in his name, most. He gets the Mostert carries.
So since we all said everybody but Elijah Mitchell, it'll be him.
Exactly. That guy might end up being amazing. He looks very fast, I got to say. That's legit.
You like the comment saying Mostert will win because of week 3. You know who they're playing week 3 Sunday night, Grant? I know you do. I know you do, Grant.
Yeah, that's right. That team made Raheem Mostert a national name. Thank you, Green Bay.
You are welcome.
Yeah.
Which 49ers player is set to break out next season? In 2019, it was Nick Bosa. In 2020, it was Fred Warner. Who will it be in 2021?
So, I mean, I can go first for this. I mean, I think the next topic is about rookies, so I'm gonna save my answer for the rookies but for the players set to break out, I'm gonna do a little opposite here because I know my man Grant isn't as high on this guy. And I'm going to go with Javon Kinlaw. I was a big Javon Kinlaw fan before the draft. I love Javon Kinlaw's physical traits. I think this year Javon Kinlaw shows a lot, especially with Nick Bosa on the other side of him. Bringing DJ Jones back is humongous. DJ Jones a beast. I think Eric Armstead is going to play really well. And so, was that me?
What happened?
Did you hear that? Oh, never mind. I heard some other audio. My bad.
Yeah,
but yeah, I think Javon Kinlaw is going to break out. I think Eric Armstead is going to be better. I think DJ Jones is phenomenal. I do think Samson Ebukam is going to make an impact, and I do think D Ford will play next year. I really do believe that. So I'm going to say Javon Kinlaw.
Yeah, I'm 100% with Vish. This was a topic a few weeks ago, I think, on your show, Grant, and I said Kinlaw then. I think Bosa is going to make a huge difference in how Kinlaw plays. And so I have to go with Kinlaw. Is Bosa's going to make an impact. Armstead's going to be there. If Ford plays, like Vish says, that's a cherry on top. Ebukam, we have Arden Key, Hurst. That defensive line is super deep. And I feel like not only is he going to get better because he's going to have a preseason, which is huge for not only just the rookies, but the guys that are coming into year 2. And now he's going to have all this talent and all this depth around him. And it's year 2 of a system. Yeah, I think Kinlaw's the guy.
I'm going to go with Dre Greenlaw. Dre Greenlaw played well in his rookie season. He played well last year. And Fred Warner broke out last year, so Dre Greenlaw didn't get as much credit as he played well last year. So I got to go with Dre Greenlaw. Dre Greenlaw is really underrated. He hasn't played bad his rookie season or last year. He played pretty good. And Fred Warner's already broken out, so I feel like Dre Greenlaw is going to be the breakout player this year for the Niners.
He's in phenomenal shape as always. He looks really strong. Yoked. What do you think, Blake?
All right, so my answer is a little different than your guys's, but I'm going with an offensive lineman, but it's not a rookie. He's on the right side of the line.
Ooh.
Right tackle. Mike McGlinchey. He's going to be my breakout player, and here's why.
Just to spite me.
No. Now, we all know Mike McGlinchey is not the best pass blocker. We can agree. If you follow Grant's Twitter, you'll be reminded of that weekly. But what I'll say is this. The 49ers are, which I think they will be better this year, and they will be running the ball more. McGlinchey will be in more run blocking sets than pass blocking sets. And that's going to help him tremendously as he will not be going against pass rushers as much. And then also with Alex Mack and then Banks being slotted in, I think the O-line will just be better in general, and that'll help with McGlinchey overall. So I think he'll be the guy who kind of improves this year, and I'm excited to see because, he has some haters. That's all I'll say. He has some haters, but I have faith in him.
All right.
Packer fan just came in and stole the chat. I love it. Nice pick, Blake. Nice pick.
All right, hold on. Let me get my pick out. Okay.
I already know who it's going to be. He showed up to camp 5 to 10 pounds heavier. He's truly yoked this year. He finally did what the other guys are doing.
Hey, hold on. Yes, I'm going to say Ross Dwelly. But hold on. Let me make my best case. Hold on. Okay, look. He's finally the number 2 tight end on this team. Fair? I'm gonna not speak in hyperbole, okay? This is no hyperbole. He is the number 2 tight end on the team, okay? He wasn't last year. Last year it was Jordan Reed. Here were his numbers, okay? Jordan Reed had 46 targets, 26 catches in 10 games. He had 46 targets in 10 games. He's gone, Bourne's gone. There's a lot of targets to go around. I think it's reasonable to think that Ross Dwelly goes from 24 targets to 50 and catches 35 of them and could have 5 to 7 or 8 touchdowns depending on how they use him in the red zone. So I'm just saying until they get if they get Julio Jones, then forget Ross Dwelly. But until they get Julio Jones, I think there are targets to be had and he could have them. Juszczyk as well. I think it's him and Juszczyk are going to be battling out for like that number 4 spot after Debo, Ayuk, and Kittle.
All right. Before you move on, I got one more name. I just don't know what he will be on the team, but just a shot in the dark. And I'm going to say Demetrius Flanagan Fowles. If you remember last year, there were a lot of people in camp saying a lot of very, very positive things about him. Not like Robert Saleh and Fred Warner especially kept mentioning him by name. And then he made the roster, which was a surprise to a lot of people. I think him being a converted safety is going to add a little more athleticism to this defense, a little more speed. And, you might see him as Marcel Harris was kind of the dime linebacker last year when Tarvarius Moore took over at safety. I think given with the crowded safety room, Flanagan fouls, you might be able to watch him as that guy.
I think they want to move Azeez Al-Shaair to like middle linebacker, and I think they want that third outside linebacker to be basically like a safety, real fast and small. So him, maybe Talanoa Hufanga too.
The next Troy Polamalu, according to some.
No.
Okay, so moving on to the next topic, who will lead the 49ers in sacks this season?
Low-hanging fruit, Bosa. as long as they manage Bosa properly, they don't put him in a lot on second down, I think is going to be key. Maybe even some first downs. I think they're going to have him on a pitch count early. And let's say he plays mainly third downs for the first few weeks and he's able to just come in and pin his ears back and get after the quarterback. That would be ideal. And then as the season wears on, he gets a little bit more in shape. We aren't concerned anymore that he's got this lingering knee issue. Then he can start being more of a 3-down player again. But if they manage him correctly and just allow him to come in and do what he does, I think Bosa's prime for a 12 to 15 sack season.
I'm going to go with Eric Armstead. And here's why. Like, Bosa's the obvious answer, but Bosa's never been a high sack player, whether it's college or the pros. He's never had a 10-plus sack season in his life. And part of that is because, he talked about it last year. He struggles to finish plays because he has shorter arms. Like, if you remember Aldon Smith, who I think is the best 49ers pass rusher of my lifetime, those 35-inch arms, once he threw the tackle off, play was over. With Nick Bosa, he gets to the quarterback.
He's the pressure
else
king.
Usually finishes
He's the
play.
pressure king,
And that's where Eric Armstead comes into play, because a lot of what happened to Eric Armstead last year, and Grant made a little video montage of this as well, was he'd get there, but nobody else would get there with him. If you go back to 2019, when other people got there with him, the quarterback came straight to Eric Armstead and he finished the play. And I think that's what's going to happen. The other reason you can really rely on Eric Armstead is I think now we have a 2-3 year sample size of Eric Armstead just playing down in and down out and being healthy and reliable for the 49ers. You can't really say that about many other players on this team that make a lot of money. So I'm going to go with Eric Armstead.
My turn. I'm going to go with Samson Ebukam for a lot of the same reasons that Vish just said. Bosa's good. He could be on a pitch count. He does create more pressure than sacks. Someone else finishes up. Guy with a high motor. It could be Eric Armstead. Eric Armstead had the highest motor on the defense in 2019. I really felt that Eric Armstead played harder than everyone else in 2019. But he was in a contract year. And I have my questions about Eric Armstead's I don't know what you want to call it now. So I think Samson Ebukam has a little bit more to play for, a little bit more to prove. And I've already seen the kind of motor he has. I think putting him on this defense with Chris Kosterick, he might be the one getting those cleanup sacks. Ebukam. If Kerry Hyder could get what was it, 8, 9 last year, Ebukam could do it too.
I'm going to go with Eric Armstead. 2019, when Nick Bosa was playing, Nick Bosa got 9 sacks and Eric Armstead had more sacks than him. And that's also because Nick Bosa takes the pressure off Eric Armstead on that D-line. And last year, when Nick Bosa wasn't playing, all the pressure was on Eric Armstead and Kerry Hyder. Nobody was worried about Kerry Hyder, and Kerry Hyder would get more sacks than Eric Armstead. So with Nick Bosa coming back this year, that takes the pressure off Eric Armstead. So with Nick Bosa coming back, I got to go with Eric Armstead.
All right, so I'm with Jesse on this one. I'm going with Bosa, and one thing that I think that you guys mentioned was he's the pressure king and that maybe he doesn't finish them, but that's usually atypical. The more pressures you get, the more likely that is that you'll finish sacks. And maybe
it's like hockey, like the more shots on goal you get, right?
Something like that. Yeah. I think he'll, maybe it's considered unlucky. I know Shaq Barrett's kind of the same, although he had a lot of sacks in 2019 where, he's top 5 in pressures, but last year I don't think he had, was top 5 in sacks or something like that. So I think, obviously with the more pressures, the more chances. And I think, top athletes seem to be recovering from injuries, knee injuries better than they have in the past. And so I'm going to go with Nick Bosa, but I would not be surprised if it's Armstead, like you guys mentioned, for the reasons you did. That was kind of smart and out of the box.
I do want to make one more point with Armstead before you move on. And it's the fact that what happened to Armstead also last year is that he wasn't able to really kick inside.
Right.
Because they had a surplus of interior pass rushers. They didn't have anybody on the outside. Grant, you brought up Ebukam. I think Ebukam would be or D Ford, one of those two guys, would be the fourth pass rusher on the outside. And then it's between Kinlaw, Jones, Gibbons, a bunch of people battling to be the fourth pass rusher on this team. And I think because Armstead is able to kick inside, he's a menace. Guards can't handle him. He's too quick. He's too savvy. He's too athletic.
Yeah.
And so I think that, especially with Bosa creating the pressure from the outside, you're going to see him get a lot of really easy sacks next year.
Yeah. Means having some slight technical difficulties.
Poor guy.
Hey, you all right?
Constantly get to see two of them.
You have some technical difficulties? What's popping?
I don't know. For some reason, he's kicking me out of the stream.
He's using Grant's computer.
It's all right.
Okay, moving.
Hey, now that you're in the game, what you'll realize is that upload speed is your best friend. It's your best friend. I don't know how you get better upload speed, but you gotta talk. You gotta find a guy who knows a guy.
He needs to talk to Leo. What Leo did to upgrade his Wi-Fi?
Did he? Because
man, know.
That was problematic. Hashtag. All right, what's the next one?
Oh no.
Okay,
I have a question for you guys while Amin's trying to get stuff figured out.
Sure.
So Vish was pretty bullish on Ford playing. Let's say Ford doesn't play. Do we think Arden Key or Ebukam has a better season under that scenario?
I like that question. You already know what I think, so what do you guys think?
Yeah, Ebukam for sure.
You think Ebukam?
Yes.
I liked Arden Key coming out of LSU, though, I got to say. And he had great reports his rookie year.
I did too. But, are we even sure Arden Key is going to be Jordan Willis for a roster spot?
True.
Jordan Willis wasn't terrible at the end of last year.
Yeah, that's true. I actually thought Jordan Willis actually played hard. All right, Amin, while we're working, what are we working with the next one? What's the next one? Boom.
Should the 49ers trade for a corner before the season starts?
Ooh.
I'll go first. Yeah. If Stephon Gilmore is available, it's basically a 1-year deal. That's all he's got left on his contract. Try to save 1 year so you can court him next year. Go get Stephon Gilmore. What everybody's saying about Julio Jones, I'd rather have them give up and go get Stephon Gilmore. To me, that's a bigger need. And because it's not just the corner position, which I think is a more valuable position than wide receiver. It keeps going back to the fact that the 49ers have a very good secondary of just starters. They don't have a very good secondary behind their starters. And so they need some depth at the position, and having Emmanuel Mosley move from your starting outside corner to your second corner, your backup corner on the outside, who can also spare K'Wan Williams at nickel and all of that, it changes the entire secondary. Because the reality of the situation is, if two of Jason Verrett, Jaquaski Tart, K'Wan Williams, and Jimmy Ward get hurt, the 49ers season starts to lose its where you think they can go in terms of expectations. If two of those four get hurt.
That is true.
So you need one extra guy, and I would trade for, if Stephon Gilmore is available, whatever everybody wants to give up for Julio Jones, I would give it up for Stephon Gilmore in a heartbeat.
Okay. I think that's a good answer. I personally would not trade a second rounder for Gilmore because he's in the last year of his deal, I believe. And he is over 30. That's another corner over 30 that would be added to the roster. So I'm going to say no. Not because it wouldn't be awesome to get a corner. I do agree with Vish that I'd rather have a corner instead of Julio in a trade scenario, but I don't know who's available, if anybody. What I will say is I would like us to sign a corner. There are some guys out there that are still pretty good that are under the age of 30. A guy that comes to mind is Brian Poole. I think very good corner, underrated. He's been stuck with the Jets for a long time, but he's quietly put together a good career. In fact, I would have taken Poole over K'Wan Williams. So, yeah, I would love to go get a corner. I just don't know if trade's the right way to do it.
Yeah, I would trade or sign a corner, Rashad Breeland is still there, free agent.
Hmm.
The Niners need a cornerback.
He's
We
good.
play in the NFC West. We play like guys like DK, DeAndre Hopkins, Cooper Cup, AJ Green just got added to free agency. So our wide receivers in our division are so good. Easily one of the best wide receivers in any division in the NFL. But like we're like rookie cornerbacks struggle year one. So I know we drafted Ambry Thomas and Lenore, but those guys are rookies. They're gonna struggle year one. They're gonna have some learning gaps. They're not gonna be able to go up against guys like DK Metcalf and DeAndre Hopkins, who are really, really good. So they have to go sign a corner or trade for a corner. Just they have to adjust that corner position because you're gonna go up against guys like DeAndre Hopkins, DK twice a year, and you might even see them in the playoffs. Last year, DeAndre Hopkins put up like 140 yards on us in the first game of the season.
Yeah.
You guys have to adjust our cornerback position, like you always say. If Jason Verrett gets injured, who's our cornerback? Our cornerbacks are going to be like the worst in the league. I get we drafted Ambry Thomas and Lenore, but rookies struggle year one, especially rookie cornerbacks. So you got to adjust our cornerback position. Sign or trade for your corner.
Yeah. Is it my turn?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I wouldn't do it yet. I would give Ambry Thomas a shot. It seems to me that if you have the skills, if you're 6 feet, you run a 4.3, and you can cover man to man, you could do it when you're 22, 23. I mean, you could do it at a young age. So I want to see what Ambry Thomas can do first. I mean, maybe the expectation shouldn't be that high, but I don't know. Bashad Breeland's 29. Yeah, he'd be interesting. But if Ambry Thomas is as good as he could be, like he should start over Emmanuel Mosley right now. He's got more upside than Emmanuel Mosley. So he's interesting. I haven't really gotten a read on him yet. That's why I'm a little hesitant. But yeah, Bashad Breeland, he's a good player. I'm surprised hasn't been signed yet.
So I guess I'm the last one, but I'm kind of in between. I don't know if they should trade a lot for a corner considering what they traded to get Lance, and their roster's already very top heavy. So I think trading more high picks is maybe not the best way to go, but I think corner, or you could even just say safety in general. I mean, Jason Verrett, Jimmy Ward, Jaquaski Tart, all injury prone. I think they're all really good when they play, but you can't count on them for 16 games. I don't know if you could count on each individual person for 16 games. So that's where I think, if they start losing one or two of them, like their secondary is really, I don't think all that great. And I'd be very concerned unless they sign someone or traded for someone. I think Breeland would be a great ad. He seems to, he's pretty inconsistent. He'll have really like moments of greatness. And then other times on the Packers, I'd watch him and he just get abused sometimes against receivers. But overall, I think he's a good corner. And I do think they need to get a corner or a safety desperately.
Hold on, guys. We're forgetting someone. We're forgetting he's a free agent.
We're not forgetting him.
We're forgetting someone. He's a future Hall of Famer. He's a ball hog.
We're not forgetting him.
How are we? He just totally slipped our minds.
Not
Sherman?
forgetting him.
No.
With Sherman, it depends on where his body is. I think he was healthy for a lot of last year, and I think that's what accelerated what people's opinions of him. I mean, excuse me, not healthy. He was unhealthy. I think the thing with Sherman is that, like, Grant, if you remember in 2019, he came back from a pulled quad in 1 week, and he played the next game, and he played pretty darn well. So, like, how healthy his legs are and when he's playing is kind of an unknown because he's.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
With him, I think he would have to really, really be healthy, and I don't know if he is at this point, and that's not for me to judge. The one other thing I did want to say in regards to the secondary is it'll help D'Amico Ryans out a lot, and because the thing is, look at what Brandon Staley did last year, right? Brandon Staley was an absolute revelation for the league because he played split safety coverage on first down. He played split safety coverage on second down. He played split safety coverage on third down. He played split safety coverage. And what helped him play split safety coverage so often is, one, he had a guy up front who you need to triple team on every play. And two, he had a guy on the secondary who you can basically play. If you play quarters, you can play lock because so your second safety that's supposed to be helping out on the side of your, let's say Jalen Ramsey's on the boundary, your boundary side. He doesn't have to. He can pick off crossers on the field side.
Right.
And so I think that having a better in terms of cornerback tandem, even if you're going to play zone coverage, it'll help DeMeco Ryans out, especially because like we look at this D-line and we say there's so much depth, but this defense is really, it's got one knockout punch, and that's for its D-line to beat you. And if its D-line doesn't beat you, they're going to just play zone coverage behind it. And you have to question because the 3 best man coverage players on the team, 2 of them are safeties, not corners. That's a little bit of a problem. So
I think you're underselling Jason Verrett here a little bit.
Yeah.
No, he's the third. It's Verrett, Ward, and Tartt. Those are the 3 best man players on the team.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
So
fair enough.
So with Verrett also, I cannot trust the health until I see it for 2
That's fair. That's fair.
So that's the thing with Verrett. And so that's where I think that it would help him a lot. Like, let's say you come into next season and you play a team like the Saints. You know, obviously Breeze is not there anymore, but good offensive line and a quarterback who gets the ball out fast. Well, what are you going to do to counterpunch that? Are you just going to let them score 45 on you and hope your offense scores 47? That's the big question mark. What are you going to do when the pass rush doesn't get home?
Yeah. Because you don't have Robert Saleh's evil genius anymore. Now you got DeMeco. So what are you gonna do, DeMeco?
You're gonna hope that you can hold the ball for 40 minutes a game with the running game. I mean, that's about it, right?
Bingo. Because you're not going to be too sophisticated on defense, I wouldn't think.
Yeah.
You're just not. Anyway. I mean, what's the next one?
Okay. Moving on to the last topic, because I know you got to go.
Oh, last topic. Okay, all right.
So should the 49ers trade Julio Jones?
Oh, my God. Let me think about it. I haven't thought about it. Blake, what do you think? I want to hear an outsider. What do you think? What do you think, Blake? You don't have any skin in this game.
Yeah, I know. I mean, of course, all the Packers fans are saying we should trade for Julio, so I'm in the same boat as you guys, kind of. But me and Vish have talked about this, and I think I'm adamantly against it, at least for the Niners. I mentioned earlier they're kind of a top-heavy team with how their cap space is structured, and they have the highest paid left tackle. Jimmy's pretty expensive. Fred Warner's going to be expensive. Nick Bosa's going to be expensive. George Kittle. That's 5 guys right there that are massively expensive. And, in the NFL, you need depth. And if you're trading a bunch of picks away, and Julio is an all-pro, he's probably still a top 5 receiver. He still averaged 85 yards a catch last season. And I don't think he's washed. It's really nothing against Julio. I think Julio's great. I just don't know if the Niners need another guy or need to pay a luxury price for another receiver, because I think their offense is kind of fine how it is. And, bearing all 3 pass catchers get injured, I think their offense will run fine passing and running. So I'm kind of against the Julio thing for the Niners. I think he'd be suited on a better team like the Patriots, maybe the Titans. But for the Niners, no to Julio. And then also the picks, too. They already traded away a couple first. So unless they just plan on drafting insanely good in the mid-rounds, which is usually not something you bank on, they might have a tough time finding more talent if they do trade some picks.
What about the Packers? Do you think the Packers should?
I would say probably not. We're kind of like $15 million under the cap space. So. unless they just want to make a bunch of restructures, I guess I wouldn't be opposed to them restructuring Rodgers, but you never know what they're going to do. So,
all right.
I can go next.
Yeah, go ahead.
And I'm in the same boat as Blake. Obviously, he and I share the same line of thinking when it comes to the top heaviness, all of that. But I'll go to another aspect of it, and that's just target distribution. To me, the target distribution with Julio Jones wouldn't make sense for this team. This is not a drop-back passing team. Whether Trey Lance is a quarterback, whether Jimmy Garoppolo is a quarterback. There's a reason they have the highest paid left tackle, the highest paid fullback, and the highest paid tight end in football. They want to run the football. And when you get Julio Jones, how are you going to distribute targets between Julio Jones, Deebo Samuel, George Kittle, Kyle Juszczyk, Brandon Ayuk? Somebody's not going to get touches, not to mention They have 4 running backs that are going to get touches. So, that's where, in an ideal world, if we were playing Madden, I'd just put Julio Jones out there because as a Madden coordinator, I don't run the football. But that's just not how it works in the NFL. I think what the Niners need is they need a consistent number 3. It doesn't have to be Julio Jones. It just has to be the Jeremy Curley, you know, the guy who's on a team that has a rookie that you can just go pick him up at the end of camp for a 7th-round pick. Jamison Crowder's the guy to keep an – oh, I forgot about Ross the Boss. I mean, what are we doing here? Who needs Julio when you got Ross the Boss? But
you can't break
who's
out
going to score more
Julio's
touchdowns next year,
team.
Julio Jones or Ross Dwelly? Who's going to score more touchdowns next year, Julio Jones or Ross Dwelly? I got Ross. I'm sorry. I keep it.
You got Ross?
I got Ross. Julio Jones isn't a big touchdown scorer, is he?
No.
But I'm going to take Julio, and let's do this. If I win, you got to wear an Only Shan shirt for a week.
Okay, fine. All right, I mean, what do you think? I don't know. Do you want to go next, or should we? Okay, go ahead.
Niners are a run for his team. They don't pass the ball.
Okay, that's fair. Listen, I'll take the other side of the
Can you
argument.
hear me?
I would prefer getting a Golden Tate because we're not going to have to give anything up. He can come in right away. He can fit exactly what the team needs. So that would be my preference. But let's say that doesn't happen and we're just talking about this trade. If you asked me a week ago, I said absolutely no on Julio. The reason that my mind changed on Julio is I found out that cap went from what I thought was $19 million a year down to about $11.3 million a year. That is a big difference. The cap is going to jump significantly next year. Although I do agree with Vish, it could be a problem as far as targets, but that's not my job. My job is to say, listen, I want the most talent on the team. You guys figure out how to distribute the ball. Is it the worst thing in the world if Debo's now your number 3 receiver and can stay healthy all year? If Kittle doesn't have to be such a burden as far as taking those targets and can stay healthy all year? Or let's say Debo doesn't get as many targets and is healthy, but now we don't have to pay him as much because he's not as coveted. I don't think that's a bad thing either. So the way that I see it is let them figure out the distribution. If we can load this team with more talent, I say let's do it.
Yeah, I think I'm actually with Jesse on this. Like I've been thinking about it a long time. Vish made me feel like it wasn't prudent, but then I feel like, look, if the cap is going to go up the way it should, then they should be able to afford him. Here's how I feel about it. Should they trade a second? Should they offer a second and a third for Julio? Sure, go for it. Go for it. Are you going to get Julio for a second and a third? Probably not. Do the Niners have enough to get Julio Jones? Probably not. Are the Niners going to get Julio Jones? Probably not. So yeah, I mean, talk about it. Go for it. Make an offer. They don't have it. I don't think they have the horses to get this done. So it's fun to talk about, but I don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, obviously making an offer. This is Julio freaking.
Yeah, make an offer, man. Go for it.
But
you don't have
the
one.
top 5 receiver in NFL history.
Go knock yourself out.
That good. So, 100%, you have to inquire and all of that. But in terms of, do you want to be part of the bidding war, and do you need him?
Can you even
go all out?
Win that?
Right.
Yeah. How do you do it? Like, what can you really offer? You offer a second, a third, and players, and Kyle. You can offer Kyle. What do you think? I mean,
what about Nick Bosa?
Trade Nick Bosa.
The Niners have to outbid every other team in the AFC if they want to get
exactly.
Because Julio Jones, if the Falcons get a better, even if our offer is the same as another team in the AFC, the Falcons want to trade him to the NFC. They want to trade him to the AFC.
Mm-hmm.
So the Niners even want to get Julio Jones. They have to outbid every other team, like the Patriots and the Colts and whoever's interested in the AFC. They have to outbid all of those teams to get Julio Jones. They have to at least give up maybe like a first, or like even more than that, or a bunch of players if they want to get Julio Jones. If another team in the AFC is giving more.
So is it realistic? Probably not. Probably not.
Grant,
so it should be can they, not should they? What's that?
Grant, one day you got to thank Kyle Shanahan, John Lynch, and Niners fans everywhere. Every year they pick a player that's top 5 to 10 in the NFL or top 5 at their position and spend an entire month of the offseason making bizarre propositions on how they can get these players. You know, Odell Beckham was that guy for a couple
Jamal
years.
Adams was definitely that guy.
Now
no questions. Julio.
And it's funny because they come in and they trash Jimmy G and all these people, but then when it's time to trade for Julio Jones, Jimmy G in a third just gets it done, you know? Or Raheem Mostert in a fifth.
Just throw in Marquise Lee. That'll get it done.
Or Benny Fowler now.
Benny Fowler.
Maybe Ross.
Dang, I mean, this is one of the all-time great roundtables. I mean, you set this up, man. This was fantastic. Mm-hmm. This is great.
Sorry I was late, buddy. I had some kid things to take care of, so apologies.
It's all right, man. It's all right.
It's all good.
We're all men here. We're all grown men here. Good job, Amin. Good stuff, dude. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
Thanks for bringing this all-star cast together. It was an honor to be a part of it, man.
Thanks, man. So
For
go
sure.
check out Graham's Cone channel. I know I'm probably all my subscribers are Grant Cone and Jesse, but if you're subscribed to me and you're not subscribed to Grant Cone, which is not likely, go subscribe to Grant Cone. Go subscribe to Jesse's channel. All the links are in the description. Go check out Blake and Vish's channel. Link is in the description. I hope you guys enjoyed the stream. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.
Thank you, Amin.
Thanks, Amin.
Thanks, Amin.
No problem. Thanks for joining me.